Hi everybody. Seems like we turned the music off and everyone just instinctively got in their seats. Hilarious and awesome all at once. So thank you all for coming. I see a lot of new faces. So my name's Luis. I'm the Meetup organizer. This is Music Tech Meetup Group. For those of you who have not been here before, we like to mix it up and we'll do product demos. We'll do, what have we done? We've done demos, group activities, just free form networking. We did a trivia thing. So for tonight, we thought it'd be kind of fun to do a group activity, and it'll all be based around new product launches. And we'll get into the group activity in a second, but to get everyone kind of thinking in the same. Is anyone here a project marketer, project manager? No one? Okay, cool. So we'll get into that in a second, but we figured we'd start with a quick video. It's only like 10 minutes just to get everyone kind of thinking in the same way. I guess I'll break down what we're going to do. We'll watch this video really quick. It kind of explains some of the tactics about and common mistakes with releasing a new product. And then we'll do a group activity where we split up and we're all going to try to come up as a group with new music products for these big companies. The reason why you pick these big companies is because they have big budgets. And so you can let your imagination go where it will. Some of them have music, Apple Music, obviously Amazon Music. It doesn't have to be an update to anything they've already done. We'll kind of just make it up. And after watching this video, I think you'll understand what we're going for. But yeah, we'll start with the video and then we'll do some group stuff. It's short and it's not boring. I don't think it's boring.
Welcome to the HBR Ideas Hub Harvard Business Review. I'm Sarah Green. I'm here today with Joan Schneider and Julie Hall of Schneider Associates, a PR and marketing communications firm. They're the authors of the April 2011 article, Why Most Product Launches Fail. Joan, Julie, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So why do most product launches fail, and how can you tell if what you're working on is the next Segway and not the next iPod?
Well, there's so many reasons new products fail. In fact, we have created a list of 40 ways to crash a new product launch, which is going to be on the HBR website in conjunction with the April issue. So viewers might want to look at that and consider that list before they launch their new product. But there's several really fatal flaws that people make. The first is they spend all their time on new product development and manufacturing the product, so by the time they get to the launch, there's hardly any time or money left to do it. The second is that they get research and they do testing, but they fall in love with the product, so they say, oh, we don't really need to change it, or they're not right, and they launch it and consumers don't buy the product. If the product defines a new category, you really have to leave enough time and money to educate people. And I always say that everybody gets so excited about it in the companies that they have these really aggressive sales forecasts. We're going to sell 1 million of these, but guess what? You're not going to sell 1 million of them the first year because people don't even know what it is. So you have to leave a lot of time to educate people. And the last thing is that, guess what? Some products are really successful. How are we going to produce it? How are we going to distribute it? Where is it going to be sold? The inventors come up with these great things, but they don't really think ahead. So there's a lot to think about.
Is part of the problem just that we have so many products already? I mean, if you look at it at a category like cola, there have been so many failed product launches in the cola industry. Is the problem just that we don't need more sugar water?
And the cola industry is unique in that, it's a $1 billion industry, so they're constantly looking for innovation. It's very fickle, like the fashion industry. We've had 2 new cola launches, with Pepsi launching the little skinny can, and with Dr. Pepper actually launching Dr. Pepper 10, which you think would be for the female market, which actually made for brawny men and features Rambo in their television advertising. But there's over, last year alone, there were over 42,000 new products that were launched. We've seen this number in the 10 years that Joan and I have been doing research with our most memorable new product launch. We've seen this number go up, we've seen this number go down for a variety of economic reasons. But the one thing that we know remains true is that if you create a product that has a target that's going to be interested in it, many times it is going to be successful. And I think marketers sometimes fail to do that proper market research in creating a product, like Joan said, that they fall in love with and not really look for that target market.
Let's talk about an example that you worked on that didn't pan out quite the way you'd hoped. Tell me about the Cell Zone.
Cell Zone is one of our favorite new product launches that we worked on. Cell zones had just become extraordinarily mainstream, and people were finding a need to go somewhere to talk privately. This is before texting. They launched at the restaurant show. Our firm was able to get them on the Today Show. We got a USA Today front page story, and the calls just came in, and people were just so excited about the cell zone and wanted to buy it. They didn't really have enough ready. So that was one key lesson that we learned that you'll see in the article. But the key fatal flaw, I think, was misreading the marketplace and contextually where the product fell. And the founder actually, and I spoke recently about this, and he said they underestimated the potential of the texting market. They didn't see it coming as quickly. However, there's a silver lining to the story, and the product didn't fail dismally. We know now that they really found a perfect niche market in college libraries. They're actually at Harvard, they're actually at Yale, and many of Ivy League schools. And we also found out that the White House and the Department of Defense and the Pentagon have cell zones where one would assume you need to have private cell conversations. So there was, a learnings as they went along the way. And we find with many entrepreneurs, that is, they launch, retreat, maybe launch again, retreat, and kind of figure it out as they go along.
That is a nice ending to the story. I wonder, though, is there any way that they could have anticipated that texting would become such a big thing and really disrupt what their business model was?
Yes, I think that you always have to be looking at the trends. You have to be looking not only at the consumer trends, but the technology trends. I think they were talking to restaurateurs who were grown-ups who were really using their cell phones. If they had been looking at the kids, they would realize that no teenager ever picks up the phone. So the audience that was coming up really were really into texting. So it's always important to stay close to what's happening in the market. You can't just look at your market, you have to look at everything that's going on.
Which changes so quickly, too. I think in this day and age, and we talked a little bit about this, the importance of beta launch. It's hard to look contextually at trends and things that are changing when things are changing now 24/7 and so quickly. So, we've seen sort of what we've called, the beta launch phenomenon, which Google really perfected in just launch it, get it out there. If it doesn't work, pull it back, launch another one, and just constantly putting new innovative products out there to keep the noise level and the news level about your product and your company out there.
We've talked now about a few different kinds of products and also a few different kinds of things like beta launch, things you can do to sort of overcome some of these challenges. But is there one type of product that really is the toughest to introduce?
Well, they're all tough to introduce now because the environment is changing so quickly. But I like to say that evolutionary products are really hard, which means, something that's a better mousetrap. It's an improvement over the original version, but it's not really that dramatic. Or a line extension. Those are really hard to launch because what's new about that? So you really have to create things around them that make them interesting. Revolutionary products, believe it or not, can be hard to launch as well because you know what? If they're first in their category, nobody knows what they're supposed to do, and you really have to educate. The early adopters always love revolutionary products, but then there's that huge chasm. How do you get the mass audience to adopt it? Well, let's talk a little bit about a revolutionary product. Something like the iPad was something that actually sort of got panned during its launch. The early reviews said, who's going to use this? The name is terrible. But yet they seem to be selling very well. So how does a good product like that is revolutionary, overcome a bad launch?
Well, they clearly had a market, and we did a blog post with Harvard Business Review with Julia Kirby last year when the iPad came out saying, they are the masters at new product launch from, 1984. And we get this question all the time. People say, what is the best product launch you've ever seen? And, hands down, it was really in 1984 during the Super Bowl, which set the stage for Super Bowl ads was that launch, Apple's launch. And they've continued to really just do all of the right things when it comes to launching a new product, motivating your base, making sure that you're getting those early adopters, those influencers, those folks that love your brand behind it ahead of time and bringing them in, creating that anticipation, making a big splash at the announcement. I mean, it's almost formulaic the way that, Steve Jobs was out there, a black turtleneck and in the next product, and you're just waiting and he's going to do it again. So they really do have it down well. There are other products that, were poised to change the world, like you look at the Segway. I mean, the anticipation for the Segway was almost, unheralded. I mean, it was almost like the iPad in some respects, but it didn't have a market. We didn't know what to do with it. Do I drive it to work? I see mall security men using it now, but they didn't really have a market for it yet. It might have been a little bit before its time. The iPad, nailed it. But when the Newton had been launched, 12, 15 years earlier, we weren't ready for it yet. So I think some of it is timing, and then I think a large part of it is definitely having a market.
And promotion. I mean, I think Apple is genius at making everybody want what they have. I mean, if you really dissect their commercials, you're going to be smarter, you're going to be cooler, you're going to be hipper, it just makes you a better person. And by the time people start to get it, then they have the next version. So all the early adopters want the next version. So it's just a snowball effect.
And that was, we've been researching new product launches for just about 10 years now. So we've got close to 100 products, that we've watched over the years. 20% are no longer on store shelves. So that was sort of interesting to look at. But last year's most memorable new product was the iPad, and it was almost, overwhelming, the amount of people who remembered it as a new product launch.
But that being said, 45% of consumers could not name a single new product in the year that the iPad was launched. So think about how hard it is to generate recognition, because it was on, television, it was bus stop, front page news, it was on the TV all the time. It was pretty hard to escape the iPad last year.
Just for fun, can you tell me about the wackiest product idea you've been pitched on?
Well, people call our office all the time asking us to launch these wacky products, but one of them that sort of rose to the top was this Harvard Business School graduate who came to us with the sex chair. And this was about 5 years ago. And it was a device to help people have sex as they were growing older, because his belief was that as the baby boomers age, being from Woodstock, we would all want to have sex into our 90s. And so in principle, it was a really good idea, except what would you do with that? I mean, in those days, we didn't have social media. So which section in the newspaper, or would you go to a health reporter with that? It just seemed a little way out there. But now with social media, I think you could really do a great job with that kind of crazy product. So I think the market has really changed. I mean, even in terms of prohibiting product failure, because you can test it. You can use social media to have a beta test. You could use it to have a focus group. You can get bloggers involved. You can invite bloggers in. There's, with social media, there's really no reason not to test your product and make sure that consumers can use it.
Joan, Julie, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's Joan Schneider and Julie Hall of Schneider Associates. The article appears in the April 2011 issue of Harvard Business Review. For more, go to hbr.org.
Okay, so there's a little video to get you guys, everyone thinking in the same way. So now we're gonna try to be marketers all together. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna split off into groups of, not groups of 4, but into these 4 companies. So we'll just go around the room and just count a number. I'll start on the 1, 2, 3, 4. Just start with 1.
5, 1,
2,
3, 4, 1, 2,
3,
4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
Just say 4.
4, 1,
2,
3, 4.
Okay, cool. So we'll have all the 1s will come over here, and then your 2 go there. 3s that way, and then 4s to the back.
Can we assign
Yeah, we'll talk in a second. Get there, and then we'll explain the rest of it after. How's it going? Rob.
Rob, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, team 5.
Can't stop this. 2. Yes, go. I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex. I'm in. Pleasure.
Rob.
Nice to meet you. Okay, and real quick before everyone starts getting lost in conversation, Team 1, we're Apple. Team 2, Amazon. Team 3, is that one? Facebook. And Team 4, you guys are Google. And so here are the topics to talk about.
Wait, what about the example?
Oh yeah, we'll get to the example in a second. So here are the topics, and then at the end, we'll break off into what, like 25 minutes? And then at the end, we'll get up, somebody from each group comes up and gives just a 5-minute, I guess, presentation, really informal. But some of the stuff to talk about are how do you come up with the product? Obviously, what is it? What problem is it solving? And then afterwards, some of the stuff they were talking about, which is more marketing focused, how would you validate the idea? And a quick and dirty initial marketing plan. And to be clear, these aren't supposed to be existing products. This is something new, so let's be creative and innovative. But everything should have some sort of music lean to it. And Alex, if you want to give the example, this is kind of like the stuff that this is the type of product we're talking about.
Do you guys know Jawbone, the company Jawbone? I guess you know the Jambox, the music player. Okay, so Jawbone recently released a new app called Drop to sync up with the Jawbone, and the concept of Drop was to be able to share your favorite songs on Twitter and then have those automatically play. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but something with Twitter. Anyways, they had their a lot of these big companies are trying to come up with new ideas that link with their products, whether it's a software and they're trying to create a hardware component that's cool, or in the Jawbone example, they have really cool top of the market speaker that they want to now create an app with instead of people using their own apps to work with it. So anything that is hardware or software related will work for this, and
really anything, take it where you will.
Yeah.
But fun fact, Team 3, Facebook just put out that they are actively looking to get into the music space. So if you come up with something good, email them.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll break off for like 20, 25 minutes-ish, and then just pick someone from the team to come up and talk about what you came up with. All right, you guys good? Everybody good? Cool, so Team 1. We'll just let you go.
All right. So, so our product is for Apple, and it's called iCreate, and it's kind of the new multimedia label for Apple. So they make products, they make software, right? They aren't really into content creation yet, and so this is where we're going to start, and it's with music. So So I guess in the beginning, it's like an Apple Music label. And the way it is going to work is you start in all of the Apple stores and these local hubs and cities, and you have local competitions that take creative musicians that need exposure and need maybe some kind of professional mentorship to really make it. And you bring in mentors from the top places in the creative world. So you start with like a local competition, and have people vote on this music that people have uploaded, and then you move into the getting what's that? Yeah, kind of like getting they get mentorship from these professionals by coming into the Apple Store, and they get to record there, and they get their stuff produced really well, and then the best from those in the individual cities become the first people on the Apple label. And so we came up with this product just by kind of thinking through Apple and what they have right now and what they don't have, which is content creation and stuff like Netflix is doing, which they probably want to get into. And the problem solution is that there's so many creative people and they're already using Apple products, and they just don't. YouTube is flooded with wannabe artists and content creators, and so this is kind of a way of vetting your idea and getting it out there. And then validation, I think we were kind of saying we're Apple, so we don't really need to validate this.
Why start now?
Yeah, and then marketing plan, we have the iTunes store, and so we can just release things through that. It's kind of impossible for the Apple label to fail, because you can just release stuff through that and hype it as much as you want, and it's gonna work. And and then the other thing is that in addition to that, the iTunes store that everybody already uses, you get this kind of local vibe built around these local competitions, and people actually coming into the iTunes store, at the actual physical Apple store, and getting the mentorship. So you can pitch yourself sort of as kind of a capital factory environment. You can get that professional mentorship. So yeah, it's called iCreate. We're gonna go pitch it to Apple now.
Woo!
Questions? Does anybody have any questions? No questions.
All right, team two.
Flawless.
It's a flawless one.
So we're Amazon, and the way we came up with our product is we were thinking about what Amazon is doing currently and what is innovative about their products coming up. And so we started talking about VR a little bit, virtual reality, and we thought it would be cool to do concerts in virtual reality from the musician's perspective. So if I'm playing guitar and looking at my bandmates and watching the crowd, from my home I would be able to put on my VR glasses, which Amazon, we will create for everyone to experience the concert from their home. So the actual product is what is our actual product?
Amazon Live.
Oh, it's Amazon Live. Amazon Live. And the way that people purchase these experiences is kind of like you would on iTunes right now. So you can do it by song and create a whole playlist of these different virtual reality experiences via concerts. So this is great for the artists themselves because we'll sell these streaming or VR experiences for more than a typical song. So we'll sell them between $5 to $10. And so the artist actually makes a lot more money on that, and us as Amazon will make a ton of money off of it as well. The problem is that not everyone can go to the concerts they want to go to. Sometimes it's a financial issue, they don't have enough money to go to the concert, and sometimes it's I live in the fuck nowhere, and all the bands come to the big cities. So that's the problem. And our solution, obviously, is the virtual reality that lets everyone experience concerts as if they were there. How would we validate? So as Amazon, we know everyone who has looked or bought a VR headset. So we have a pretty large, we're assuming, market of potential people to go to and ask a lot of questions and try to get their feedback and validate whether or not they would use this product or not. We had another one, which was
YouTube ads, live streaming, putting.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so in a music video or a YouTube video of a live performance, we can put an ad up that says, "Want to experience this in virtual reality? Click here to learn more." And our marketing plan is, what is our marketing?
Sells itself, man.
Anyone who bought Guitar Hero.
Yeah, we'll just do what Amazon and Apple and all these companies do, and that's just like push it down your throats until you see it and on every website and every billboard and bus stop.
Get the artists to market it to their fans, because the artists are making money off of live performances they wouldn't have monetized before.
There we
Boom,
go.
they do it.
We'll also have an exclusive deal with FettyWap, so.
Oh yeah. Any questions about Amazon Live? Yeah.
So did you guys talk at all about just like virtual reality music videos?
Yeah, we did for a second about just walking through the music video as if you were in it. Looked like Jeff Tweedy, am I right? That would be pretty cool.
You could produce those in our Apple Store.
That'd be true.
Partnership. Any other questions?
We're Amazon.
Oh yeah, they can. Okay. Well, thanks. And any feedback, let me know later. Send me an email. I'm alex@amazon.com.
All right, Facebook.
We are Facebook, and we are launching Facebook soundtrack. And so when you get home from the wedding that you and your friends were taking pictures of and upload everything up from the wedding, Facebook knows it was Jessica's wedding. It knows it was Jessica's wedding. They already do know that. They're already tagging that. So would you like to soundtrack Jessica's wedding? Well, yeah, click yes. And what it's going to do is it's going to scrape the songs from all the video that people uploaded and say, here is actually what played at Jessica's wedding. Started with Devo, then moved into, no, here's your playlist. Do you want a soundtrack at Jessica's wedding? Yes. You click it, the playlist pops up, ad supported. Ad supported even just to look at the playlist, not just even more. There's gonna be ads in the midst of while you play it too. So. But that's not all. That's not all. Not only Jessica's wedding from last night, but you can go back to 2007 and take a look at the beach. Boom, and there it is, because we still got all that video that we can scrape it from. So you can time travel, is what I'm doing. You can time travel and go back to the beach on 2007 with this 6-song playlist. We came up with it by just throwing out that Facebook is already sorting your people into groups, and we had some ideas about like these are the songs your friends are already listening to. Would you like to listen to these? Also had the idea to that you hit play on a Facebook player and it already plays the song you want to hear. It already knows. So that's how it evolved. So we're not ready for that yet. But when we are ready for it, it's going to analyze your face. It's going to play free falling when you're smiling. Problem, solution. Obviously, people want to be able to go back and relive Jessica's wedding. So the solution is they can go back and revisit that and download the songs. How would you validate it? Well, same way everybody else has been doing things. We're just going to tell people they're going to do this. Then you just turn it on a little bit at a time and see how, if people complain a lot. If they complain a lot, you might be on to something. Your marketing plan, just roll it out to certain groups. Maybe to this group first. For all of us, yeah.
Do you want to? Oh, yeah. So if I'm going back in time, Facebook just introduced Facebook video not too long ago. So I don't think it existed in 2007. Would you be able to, obviously you could share videos from YouTube or other video platforms, would Facebook be able to give me playlists from shared embedded videos?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily need to be just video. I mean, you have all these photos from the beach, so almost like a flipogram sort of thing that as it goes through the slideshow, it plays music that's relevant to a beach that's timestamped 2007. I mean, we have all of Facebook here. We know what people listen to at the beach today. We know what people listen to at the beach 8 years ago. We know what your friends listen to today 8 years ago. We have all that information to provide a beach playlist for every summer that you spend down at South Powdery Island.
But why do I need a playlist for a photograph?
Well, I mean, because you're not looking just at one photograph, you're looking at the experiences of the whole album. You're reliving it. Okay. One photograph is barely a blip in how this whole soundtrack comes together. You're looking at the whole thing. Okay. Flipping through the physical photo album, you don't look at just one.
Video does help because that's where we're going to scrape mostly. But we were happy to snoop on YouTube or anything else.
It's a nostalgic product.
It's a soundtrack of the world's life.
You can soundtrack based on events they've attended, posts they made where they've mentioned this.
Okay.
Or if you go to a sporting event at the stadium, they could be playing music pre-games too. We were just listening to it. We know.
You guys answered kind of the question that I had. I was like, I was wondering if there was no music or no audio in the video, how you do it, but it sounds like you already got a solution. Just like go through their listening habits of that day and time and pick from that. So would it be available for every album and every video upload, or?
Same privacy settings. If you can see the pictures, you can see the playlists.
So there'll be a little button at the bottom like, do you want to soundtrack this? And you can have that come on automatically, or you can press play.
So can you have the same kind of settings where only certain friends can listen to my soundtrack?
Sounds fun. Yeah, sure.
Team 2 took this really seriously.
Okay, Google. We actually have 2 people. If that's okay. That's totally fine.
Right. And there's H.
Or Google. You decide how things work. All right. So, of course, it says how do you come up with your product, but we went straight for the problem and solution to figure out how we're going to come up with it. So what we're here to talk about is Google Record. It's a record of all the records. So how many times have you clicked like and put all the your favorite music on Spotify, and then realize you've also done that on iTunes, maybe All Music, and you realize you have 4 or 5 different websites that you said, I like all this music, and then you're like, what's that 1960s funk song? Oh wait, I didn't put that on my Spotify. I put it on my Discogs, and then it's all a mess. So what we wanted to do was come up with a way to streamline that, similar to things like IMDb, in which there's kind of a unified way of looking at all the data at one place. So what we came up with was the idea of a standard framework that would be, Google would release it, it would be then accessible to all other websites and developers so that they can then use that data to then create other content, similar to the way that you can link any of like trailers and movies and things like that from an IMDb link. It's all kind of a unified platform. So what it is, that's kind of what we've talked about. It's the platform itself, which will be available to other developers, but since we're Google, we're also going to wrap our own infrastructure around it so that you can connect with other people based on the data. So the data is, it's like all of the music you listen to, genres, subgenres, and then you can basically find other groups of people that have similar music interests, and then that can link to your Google+. Let's see, what else?
If you just want to talk a little bit about your...
Oh yeah, so one of the other reasons that I realized that there was a need for a unified platform is because actually one of the largest conglomerate music identifier websites was Last.fm. And they basically did this kind of like underground deal. There's this site called what.cd. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's kind of like the underground piracy, kind of like the Pirate Bay. But there's like a huge community through there of people that are hardcore archivists, and they've basically gone through generations and generations of music and tagged everything with tons of metadata, and it's all very unified because they have specific rules and guidelines. Last.fm ended up kind of doing this kind of like underground deal where they were like, all right, we won't have any like illegal content attached to it, but we want to use this analytical data. So they actually did that because they had such a good like discovery platform, and it was much more thorough. The other issue is certain places like All Music that are affiliated with specific record labels. It's really good for archiving a lot of music that's been released, but there's independent artists and things like that that never specifically dealt with Soundscape or BMI, and their music is still out there and is still able to be compared to other genres. So we wanted to make a unified way for everyone to have basically an environment for their music listening experience.
Excellent. And I just want to talk briefly about how we would validate this. Of course, we are Google, we have scale like everyone else in this room. So we'll use that, but we want to be smart about it. We want to go for like the innovators, the early adopters, and really kind of get the feel for how it works, because it is kind of a geeky thing, and we admit that we don't know exactly how we're going to make money on this at the end of the day, because we are Google after all. But once we get a feel for that and use our partnerships with places like the Capital Factory in Austin, you know, that's a helpful avenue as well. But to market this out, like, this is a great like tentacles around the music and like that driving traffic to the retailers. So it sort of seems like a natural fit that we can, if we can prove the concept and the value of this with the early adopters, that the retailers like Amazon Music and perhaps iTunes, perhaps maybe not, other independent places like Beatport is a niche that a lot of people pay premium for. We can get that marketing plan out, kind of like we do with Android. We partner with a lot of different manufacturers and retailers of phones to make that happen.
Oh, and another like parallel with the industry, there's something called Letterbox. I don't know if you're familiar with it for film. But it's similar to, it links together the data from IMDb and then allows people to like then put all of the movies and stuff that they like. But the way that they were able to commoditize that was to then have deals with all of the other providers. So even though we are specifically Google and all the music would be very accessible to all Google pay services, we'd also be open to all other pay services, so we wouldn't be like closing out or competing against Apple or Amazon, because you'd be able to like click an album and then be able to link it and stream it through whatever service you already use.
Great. And that is Google Record.
Google Record. The record of all records.
Why would Spotify or iTunes or like Rdio use the framework when they have a known competitor in Google Play Music?
I can take that, Phil. Well, that's a very good question. And you know, it's something that we don't expect to get those guys right off the bat. Like, we want to prove ourselves, like with the early adopter community and with those more grassroots retailers. We might get someone like CD Baby, maybe get some good traction. And then like Google search, like we compete with people that commercially depend on Google search as well. So if we can show that we're doing something good, we can show that they're making money and show that we're credible, you know, players in the marketplace and not thrown out around our weight. I think there's a good chance we can get a few of those guys.
Would it make sense to maybe spin it off in like some kind of foundation or organization? Yeah. Where it can walk them underneath that, because you're dealing. You mentioned like Last.fm, and you didn't talk about Music Brains is out there. You got Discogs. Right. Spotify bought up Echo Nest. They do a lot of that metadata stuff too. It would almost make sense. Personally, it would almost make sense to like spin off in some kind of foundation, just to get them to all contribute under. And I think there's something called the Rosetta project that kind of does that too. So it makes sense. It would probably be a little more probable for our competitors or other like music services to jump on board if they knew that it was like more just for the common good of just all that music metadata.
Yeah, that's a fair point, dude.
I mean, so it would definitely be transparent. So there would be, the platform itself would be open, not open source, but the platform would be transparent, so you could export all of your data from anything else. So there's other people like RDIO or Spotify. Those are kind of like a locked out system. So if you've put several thousand songs that you like on Spotify and then you like stop your Spotify account, you don't have a way to get that information that you've already placed in there. And we're trying to make it so that that information is accessible to other services, so you don't have to keep re-tagging, re-categorizing everything with all your music. You just have your one place, and that'll be linked through Google ID, so you can't lose it. And you can go, other companies can access that platform as well. So other people can do things with it, but we're trying to basically create a way to combine it into Google.
So the road goes both ways then, right?
Yes. And then Google, so we'll have a service on top of that, in which you can then link to Google Pay services to listen to that music, but other places will be able to as well. So it won't be closed off like the other services.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That's kind of it for this part. And we have a list of so hang out with beer and water. And thank you all for coming. See you guys next month.